So we're live here on YouTube. It is the Rich Lieberman Media Pulse. I want to talk specifically. I've been speaking about this the last few days, and I want to get you an up-to-date situational broadcast, something like that. So I have been talking about the very likely KNBR going all syndicated, and that's got nothing to do with their 49er broadcasts, their Giants broadcasts. Let's be very clear about that. Those are individual deals, contracts that are with Cumulus and the respective organizations, the 49ers and the Giants. They all have their broadcasts. They also have their pre and post game shows. What I am referring to and what is very, very, very heavy duty speculation based on a lot of fact about KNBR Cumulus doing away with the talk shows. The talk shows don't really drive the 49ers. 49ers are part of the NFL. The NFL is king. The Giants are part of Major League Baseball. And okay, there's a smidgen of support and modest ratings bumps with baseball, but it's really the 49ers. I've said that all along. In any event, doesn't matter. They're still losing a lot of money. They lost anywhere from $7 to $8 million. I broadcast the other day as KNBR. They're successful only because the 95.7 The Game, which is the other FM sports station owned by Audacy, they're also in the dumper, but they're not as financially bad as Cumulus and KNBR. So what would KNBR sound like? And specifically, what kind of program would there be on KNBR? And what would KCBS sound like when this is any moment now? Once Audacy is sold, which it will be, to the Soros group. I don't know what it's exactly going to be called, but it'll be the Soros. They're going to buy the Audacy stations, not only in the Bay Area, but across the United States. Let's get to KNBR first. What would KNBR sound like if they were all syndicated? All right. Well, it could be one of two formats. It could be the format, the format that's already on KGO, and that's the betting station. The betting is now driving most sports stations around the country. You hear that even though there's no ratings on KGO. Could be a combination of that, and it could be a combination of the quasi-Audacy stations that are syndicated, like Jim Rome, like Dan Patrick. These are all these are all shows that are on stations, and they basically serve the entire, not just the local markets, but the entire U.S. markets. That's probably what KNBR would become. There just wouldn't be any local shows. Now, again, I want to reemphasize this. 49ers broadcast, they would not be affected because they wouldn't suddenly not carry the 49ers. Okay? So there'd be a pregame show, postgame show, and then there'd be syndicated programming. Same thing with the Giants. Giants have obligations with, or more than, let me reverse that. Cumulus has obligations, contracts with the Giants and other sports stations around the country that they own. Ostensibly, that would not be affected. But I'm just talking locally. Again, forgive me. I have this voice cold that won't go away, but we'll deal with it. So you're going to have just some of it will be taped, probably on the weekend. There'll be shows during the week that are live, like Jim Rome, which you can hear on KGO. I'm not giving a plug. I'm just saying, actually, Jim Rome was kind of entertaining. I've become more and more a Jim Rome fan. And you'll hear the shows at night. They have the Bart Winkler show, which is part of the used to be CBS Sports Radio, and now it's the Xfinity Broadcast Network. I mean, there's so many different names. So you have that. You have the Shepherd Show, the Good Shepherd. You have a lot of the shows that originate from New York. So that's what you would hear in my book. Probably a combination of that and the gambling shows, some of which, by the way, folks, as a number of you readers have pointed out, are quite entertaining. Certainly more entertaining than the mush, the frankly amateur hour acts that are on KNBR. So that's what we're talking about with regards to KNBR. KCBS. Now, this is more pertinent. It's rumored to be all over, but just when and how. KCBS is part of Audacy, as is Live 105, 95.7 The Game. So, and this is just any day now, this could be announced. The Soros Group, that's fronted by George Soros, the very, very, very wealthy billionaire, extreme left of center figure in American politics who fronts a lot of things. Probably fronting our future president, some people say, Kamala Harris. But they're trying to buy, and it's just a matter of how it's going to take place. KCBS now, what would KCBS sound like? Probably the same news, but there'll be editorial shows. There'll be probably interview shows. I mean, it could be anything, frankly. But I'm thinking it's probably going to keep the successful stations as they are and maybe tweak the stations. Folks, I'm so sorry, but I could go get water, right? Which I think I will. Excuse me, one moment. You never know what you're going to get when you watch a live broadcast on YouTube. Excuse me. Okay. Temporary relief. So KCBS, who knows? Who knows? But here's one thing. There's going to be a lot of cutting, a lot of cost cutting, and a lot of trimming, and just probably no more KCBS as you know it. But specifically, I'm just giving you what I've heard, what I think. But this Soros acquisition of Audacy stations will be any day now. They probably have it done. They just got to go through all the various, FCC, that ought to be 5 minutes, regulations and okays and all that. But we'll know about that. Radio is changing. Of all people, Mark Levin, the very conservative talk show host, got, I think, the 5th most popular talk show in America. And he even spoke at length about the changes that are going to be taking place in radio. The idea of local independent radio is pretty much a bygone era now. You have a handful of stations that are, getting by somehow, some way, not in this market. San Francisco, it's really sad. KSFO, that's where it's all syndicated programming. There's no local show. The morning show, Armstrong and Getty, that comes out of Sacramento. It tries to be local, but it's basically a lot of crap, and it's boring. It's not interesting. They have a few people that listen, but that's not a local show. It's a syndicated garbage, West Coast. They try to be Bay Area, but they're not. So you have KSFO. I mentioned how crappy KNBR is. It's just bad, beyond bad. KCBS, I've gone into detail what it probably will end up being once the Soros Group purchases it. And then you have a few other stations. KGO is a warehouse station, the gambling, BetQL stuff. Then you have a few, the only station on FM that's getting any mileage is the Cumulus own 1077 The Bone. Their morning show does quite well. Lamont and Tonelli. But you have these other shows, 95.7 The Game, a sports station that carry the Warriors, just trying to stay alive, stay afloat. They have big money behind them, but they're owned by Audacy. And Audacy, once again, any day now, will announce it's been acquired by the Soros group. Okay, I feel a lot better. Water does wonders. So that's what KCBS, KNBR will sound like, specifically in various, iterations of hour by hour. Don't know that yet, but we will soon in the coming days. I want to also emphasize this, just to be clear. KNBR, Cumulus could get some emergency cash, some fund that they have tucked away to take care of stations that do well in their local markets. KNBR's had a couple of good ratings books, but that's all temporary in football. You cannot stop hemorrhaging. You can't invent and create new ATM machines when you don't have money and you don't have the cash and you have creditors that want to be paid. Sorry, and I don't care if Greg Papa or various people tell you otherwise. They're buying some time right now, folks. It's radical what is taking place. A lot of it is very, very sad, but that's the state we're in. I'm only commenting on and giving you the information that I told you. Whenever I get the information, any more specific information, I would tell you. Some of it is opinion, some of it is fact. Okay? Once again, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, Rich Lieberman YouTube channel. Tell your friends, your enemies, your priests, your rabbis, your lawyers, your dentists, your whatever, your plumbers, anybody you know about my channel. And please make a contribution. My channel is no advertising. It gets by because of you or not because of you. I'm trying to do a service. Even those of you that don't agree with me or whatever have told me that you appreciate, and even those that don't appreciate. Any contribution is helpful, whether it's $1, $5, $10, $20. That money goes to me, and most of it goes to my, speaking of creditors, companies that power me, companies that I can buy my, all-speed internet, bandwidth, cell phone, and yes, my time, which is money. Thank you. And by the way, if you contribute, you will get a personal schmooze. You'll get a personal thank you from me. And once again, thank you for enabling me to give you the information nobody else, and I do mean nobody else, will give you. Thank you.